Imagine a man, no army, no throne, no political power. He owned nothing. He wrote nothing. He never traveled more than 200 miles from the place he was born. And yet, 2,000 years later, over 2.4 billion people call themselves his followers. His birthday is a global holiday. His death is commemorated across every continent on Earth. Kings have been crowned in his name. Wars have been fought for him. Hospitals, universities, entire civilizations have been built around his teachings. Who was this man? And more importantly, why does he still matter today? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to see Jesus Christ in a way you've probably never seen him before. To understand Jesus, you have to understand the world he walked into. First century Judea was a pressure cooker. The Roman Empire controlled everything: the land, the taxes, the courts, even life and death. Jewish people were living under brutal occupation, desperate for a deliverer, a Messiah, someone to rescue them. And into that world, in a tiny, insignificant town called Bethlehem, a child was born. Not in a palace, not in power, in a stable, to a teenage girl and a carpenter. According to the Gospel of Luke, shepherds were the first ones told. Not kings, not priests, shepherds, the lowest rung of society. That detail is not an accident, because from the very first moment of his life, Jesus was flipping the script on what the world considered important. Fast forward 30 years, Jesus steps out of obscurity and begins what historians, even secular ones, call one of the most extraordinary public careers in human history. In just 3 years, he gathers a ragtag group of fishermen, tax collectors, and social outcasts, and turns them into the foundation of a movement that would outlast the Roman Empire itself. He preaches the Sermon on the Mount, words so radical that philosophers are still unpacking them today. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. In a world ruled by military might, that was revolutionary. He touches lepers when no one else would go near them. He speaks to women in public when culture said they had no voice. He sits down to eat with tax collectors, the most hated people in Jewish society, and says, "I came not for the healthy, but for the sick." The miracles he performed, healing the blind, feeding thousands with almost nothing, calming a storm, created a following that Roman authorities saw as a serious threat. And that's when things got dangerous. Jesus is arrested, betrayed by one of his own disciples for 30 pieces of silver. He's put on trial, not once, but multiple times, in front of Jewish religious leaders, in front of King Herod, and finally in front of the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate. And even Pilate cannot find anything wrong with him. He turns to the crowd and says, "What do you want me to do with the man you call the King of the Jews?" And the crowd shouts back, "Crucify him." Crucifixion was the most brutal, humiliating form of execution the Romans had invented. It was designed to break a person, body, spirit, and reputation. Jesus is beaten, crowned with thorns, made to carry his own cross through the streets of Jerusalem while people mock him. And nailed to that cross, he says something that has echoed through 2,000 years of human history. "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Not rage, not revenge, forgiveness, even at the moment of maximum suffering. And then he dies. His followers scatter, hide, weep. Everything they believed in seems buried in a tomb outside Jerusalem. But that is not where the story ends. 3 days later, the tomb is empty, and this is where the story splits the entire world in two. Skeptics say the body was stolen. Historians debate the evidence. But here is what no one debates. Something happened in that tomb that changed everything. Because within weeks, those same disciples who were hiding in fear were standing in public squares, boldly declaring that Jesus had risen from the dead, and they were willing to die for it. Most of them did. You don't die for something you know is a lie. The Christian church exploded across the Roman Empire. not through force, but through story and sacrifice and love. Within 300 years, the most powerful empire on earth had adopted Christianity as its official religion. The man with no army had outlasted every emperor who ever tried to silence him. Here is the question that really matters for you and me today. Why does a carpenter from Galilee, who lived 2,000 years ago, still shake people to their core? Because his message cuts through everything. In a world obsessed with power, he said, serve. In a world of revenge, he said, forgive. In a world that throws away the broken, he said, come as you are. C.S. Lewis, one of the greatest intellectuals of the 20th century, put it this way: Jesus didn't give us the option of calling him just a good teacher. Subscribe for next part. Thanks for watching.